In this video, I'm going to show you the most poisonous, most deadly opening for white that exists in chess, which is easily reachable from literally just the fourth move, where you can checkmate your opponent in 8 moves, and it is very, very common to play into from the Italian game. So let's get into it. It begins with the moves e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, going for the Italian game, and bishop c5. If our opponent doesn't play bishop c5 and is a loser and plays knight f6, then we go for the fried liver attack, and we'll make a separate video on that, but there are a lot of traps and it's very dangerous for black if they don't know what they're doing, or if they go for Gotham Chess's Traxler variation. But here, our 1400, 1200 and 2000 ops are all playing bishop c5. Now, instead of being a slow passive guy with c3 boo-hoo, we're not here to play positional chess. We're here to roll and violate our ops. So we hit them with b4. Now, yes, that pawn can be taken in 2 different ways, but we're going to go for the quick development. We're going to put the king here, we're going to put the queen here, we're going to put the queen here, we're going to checkmate them, and we're going to put the bishop here to cut them off. So that's the simple rough game plan. They're going to take, we're going to go c3 every time, setting up d4. Whether they go here, here, or here, we're going to play d4 immediately, and we're going to let them take all the juices, and we're going to castle. So they can take, we castle. If they want to take again, we can go queen b3, we can line up all the smoke in the world, and we're going to mate them. Now, I'm going to give you a quick taster of the potential and violation black will feel in the Evans Gambit by showing you a Grandmaster, an Immortal game from Morphy. And I'm going to do so before I show you the theory, just so you can get hooked and really buy into this opening, because I promise you, you're going to have so much fun playing chess playing this opening. So in Morphy's game, his opponent, the main move is bishop a5, which his opponent played. Now Morphy struck in the center, black took, being the greedy boy he is, and white castled immediately. Black decided not to take 3 pawns, be up 3 pawns, but instead get some development in now with knight f6. There are 2 main lines here, e5 or bishop a3. Morphy went for the more restrictive on black's position. Black then decided to put his dark squared bishop on a better diagonal, and Morphy developed his queen to b3, putting pressure on the f7 pawn. Black then tried to get fancy with the move d5, blocking out this attack, and if we took with the bishop, he'll take with the knight and stop this attack. However, Morphy was very glad to take with his e-pawn, as this would also open up the e-file in the future, and the king doesn't have a lot of squares to run to here, I must tell you. Black's idea, though, was to get the knight fork, the cheeky knight fork. However, he didn't calculate as far as Morphy did, as white now has rook e1 check. Black literally has 1 move with the king. Also, you're blocking with a piece and you're giving white a piece. But the problem is, if you do go king d7, we have a beautiful line here with knight e5 check, luring the king back to where he came from, and you never want to put the king on a discovered check line. But it's not even about the discovered rook check. There's much more play here. White would give a check on b5. You can block it in several ways. If you block with the pawn, we take. And now the problem is, it's not even about the queen. Like, you can take back, and there's checkmate in 1 here. Out of nowhere, boom, GG's. Resign, handshake. Sign that notation, it's over. And if you take the bishop here, it's even worse, because we are made in 3 now with all these discovered. Yes, you can block, but you're losing a queen, and it's GG's out here. There's a lot going on here. That's a check, and you have to block with the knight here or here. You block here, we don't even care. There's checkmate over here. Double check, boom, get out of here. So there's some disgusting lines in the Evans. Let's get back to the game. In the game, instead of king d7, black played the best move, bishop e6, just giving up that bishop, but the queen is under attack. What are you playing here as white? Because Morphy found this beautiful idea. No queen, no problem. D takes e6, giving up that queen, just because of the fact that white's pieces are in perfect harmony, literally boxing in that king. Black didn't understand the power of this attack, and black frankly doesn't have any options. I mean, his best move is to take the bishop, but he took the queen, and there is mate in 6. Can you find it? That is right. E takes f7, luring the king out to d7. And now here you do have to be precise with white, because there's only one winning continuation. You can give a check in a few ways here. Do you want to go bishop here? Do you want to go bishop here? Do you want to go knight here? The problem is, if you go knight here or bishop here, the king runs to c8 and he's relatively safe for now. So you have to go with bishop e6, luring the king further into the open, into danger. King c6, now we can go knight e5. His only move, king b5. And now you can notice that the king is literally boxed in. So now the bishop, not doing anything, can give a check. The king can go here or here. In the game, Morphy's opponent went king a5, and now there's checkmate in 2. Bishop b4 check. King has one legal move. And ladies and gentlemen, tell me how beautiful or disgusting that is. A takes b3 checkmate. I mean, what is that? I mean, they're 2 bishops side by side to His Highness, and that is actually a violation. If black goes bishop c5 back to where he came from, we strike in the center. They will take the pawn, and here we're not here for the pawns, we are here for checkmate, so we quickly castle. If they take back and are greedy, we have the dynamite sack on f7. If king takes, we have the check with the fork on the bishop, and black can go very wrong very quickly. Like here, it's always good to give a check just so that we can take the bishop with check. And if they open g3 with g6, they will have problems on this diagonal in the future. If black decides to play the more passive option with bishop e7, we still strike with d4. If they take, we take back. We don't castle. This is the one line where we don't castle immediately if their bishop goes to e7. If black now just tries to develop, we hit him with e5. If the knight comes into e4, we have further pressure. And here black can go very wrong very easily. His best move is knight a5, hitting the bishop. And here we just play the passive bishop e2. Now if black tries to escape with a quick castle, we have a delicious fork on a4, hitting both the knights. And that is all she wrote. Now this was a over the board game against my, at that point, my highest FIDE rated opponent, a 1770 Villenberg, in a South African over the board match. And here I was like 1560, but I knew my Evans Gambit theory. I understood the danger of it, and I got to play e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c5. And here my opponent, he said if he didn't know how good I actually was, he would have just gone knight f6. But he thought, since I'd played like 2 over the board games and he thought I was new, he went for bishop c5. Now here I got to detonate b4, Evans Gambit on the roll, baby. Of course he took it, and here we played c3. He went back to a5, and now here, for some reason, I've played this a million times online, 2000 rapid games, with the immediate d4, but I castled for some reason, and he went d6, which is already a mistake. He should have gone knight f6 immediately. Here now we struck in the middle. He developed, and now we have this move queen a4. Now there is a threat here. If black just castles, we can, what is protecting the bishop? It is the knight. So if we remove the defender, we run the bishop. Simple math. So black cannot quickly castle. He has to face this problem. So black has to go knight d7 with the brilliant idea to not worry about the pawn push and threaten this. Here my opponent, not respecting maybe my play, decided to grab a free pawn. Now I had the immediate one, bishop d5, and this move is just game over. It's lights out. I didn't see this subtle bishop fork. The reason it's a fork obviously is if you save this knight, we can take, and it's not about this, which doesn't actually threaten anything after bishop d7. It's just about winning the bishop, removing that knight defender, and winning a piece. Instead, I went for d5 with the original idea I had, playing queen a4. And of course here I calculated knight c5, and I was actually quite confused what to do after knight c5. I obviously need to maintain contact with the bishop. Here knight c5 is black's best try. White still maintains contact on that bishop, so that if the knight moves, we take the bishop. But it is his best try. Instead, my opponent saw another free p and grabbed it. Now, I think his idea was that if I take, he takes, and even if I take the knight, he wins the rook. The problem is there's a much bigger picture going on here. What are my threats? I'm threatening some disgusting things here. So you've got to calculate further than just 2 or 3 moves. Here I took the knight, he took back, and who needs the rook in the corner? What is that rook going to do anyway? It's useless right now. And there's a beautiful, you have to see the full picture here as white though to be confident. And there's a beautiful line here. D takes, we take the knight. If black takes the bishop, we have this disgusting check. And yes, he can block, and our queen is hit, so we can't take the rook immediately, but we have a bigger threat. Now, he can try and save his bishop, but his rook's also under attack. So if he saves the rook with rook b8, we have a disgusting follow-up here, where the queen finds itself completely trapped, which is just hilarious. And when I saw this over the board, I knew I had an Immortal game on my hands. So here my opponent being the 1770 FIDE rating he is, understood this and found the best move, which is b5. I completely missed this move. It looks absurd because white can take it in 2 different ways. But then we lose the rook and we're not so happy. And here I found we've sacrificed so much to get here. Let's sacrifice again. Now if black takes, we have queen b3 check and we pick up the bishop. With interest, we are up a piece. So here my opponent decided to not take the bishop, leaving both of my pieces hanging. Well, actually 3 pieces hanging. And I played the subtle move queen b3, protecting that bishop, saving my queen. Now only 1 piece is hanging. The thing is, we have that same threat as we had before, where if black takes the rook, we have bishop g5 and we trap the queen again. It's just a hilarious sequence. And then I just have 2 cheeky online games to show you, which just show the contrast. One game's against a 930 rated opponent, and another one's against a 1900 rated opponent. And the idea is just to prove to you, or to show you that the Evans Gambit ready can beat any player. Magnus Carlsen plays it, so you know you've got a proper certified opening here, and it's very dangerous and very fun to play. It shows the beauty of chess. Alright, so here we had e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6. We get our bishop c4, bishop c5, and we detonate b4, baby. Evans Gambit. My opponent took, and we got to the line where black puts his bishop on c5 instead of a5. We struck in the center. Black took. We're not here for the p, remember. We castle, and he develops his knight. Now this is already losing for black. It's +2 for white. Can you believe that? Here we took in the center, hitting the bishop. The bishop slides back to b6, and now we have e5. Black has no good place to put the knight. If he puts it in the middle, we have queen e2, and the knight's trapped. If he goes to g4, we can just simply hit him with h3, and the knight has no good squares to go. In the game, we had knight g8, and you know it's GG's when you've got to put the knight back on the starting square. And here we played bishop a3, like Morphy did, just to cut off the king. And now my opponent really found one of the worst moves I've seen, f6. This is against the 900, by the way, so it is understandable. Here we took to open the e-file. Black took back with a pawn, no one knows why. Here I gave a check. He blocked, and here I found a disgusting move. Knight g5, baby. Take that knight, as he did, and it is checkmate in 2. With queen h5, and here my opponent resigned, as he has 1 legal move, and we have queen f7 checkmate. But it just shows you can chop an opponent in. This was 14 moves, checkmate. And then lastly, versus a 1900 Polish player online, we got our Evans Gambit. And here my opponent decided to not accept the pawn. Now this just shows you what to do when it's an Evans Gambit declined, if you can call it that. Here we struck. You can still take this pawn, but your bishop is getting molested, to say lightly. And we're gonna go for the exact same combo, except we now have a lot of space here with the pawn, a nice space advantage, and we're gonna play a similar opening. However, my opponent decided to create some space for his bishop with a5. We played b5, hitting the knight. The knight should have jumped to the center, but instead went wayward. And now we took the p, lining up the d. And my opponent decided to defend it. But if I can remove this defender, then I can take here and win the game. So best move, d4 as played, opening up the bishop, threatening to take. My opponent castled, and here, I mean, if you could damage your opponent's structure like this, of course we're taking. Now here, I don't know why I didn't go for immediate queen g4. It's because after king h8, I didn't really see a follow-up, but of course there is. My small brain didn't go for queen g5 because I thought he goes knight g6 and he's somehow solidified. But being the dumbass I am, didn't realize there's a pin here and we can simply take and win a piece. With a crushing attack. Here I just solidified my pawn structure so that I could go queen g4 check. And here my opponent struck in the center. I should have taken with the pawn, knowing that taking here is pretty ass because of all the threats we have. Instead I decided to slide my bishop back, and he took and we took, and he played bishop f5, challenging my bishop in the center. Here I greedily took, but it is the best move. Sometimes it's good to be greedy, and we just brought the bishop back to safety. My opponent decided to create a pin, but we just castled here. Now my opponent played a fatal move, pushing the f4 and opening up this light square diagonal, which of course my queen pounced on. If you go here, we win the queen. So the king came up, and now there is mate in 4. Can you find it? Because in the game I actually didn't. I found the first few moves, but the last move I didn't see. Queen f7 check. The king goes to h8. We indeed took the pawn. He came to g8. And now here I was like, I don't have a fork with the knight. And if I go back, he goes here. And what am I doing? But here there's the lovely slow move knight f7, threatening taking the h6 pawn. And it is unstoppable. We're also hitting the queen, so if you just move the queen, that's checkmate. But yeah, thank you guys very much for watching. I hope this was educational, instructive, and I really hope you learn the Evans Gambit and play it, because I promise you, your chess experience will become 10 times better. I will see you guys in the next video. Cheerio.